Good afternoon, everyone. Our first speaker is Harish Bhat. We are honored to welcome Harish Bhat, a distinguished corporate leader, author, and marketeer who has been with the Tata Group for over 38 years. He has held several leadership roles, including brand custodian of Tata Sons and MD and CEO of Tata Global Beverages, and has played a key role in building iconic brands like Tanishq, Titan, Fast Track, and Tata Tea. Mr. Bhat was named among Forbes' top 10 most influential CMOs in the world in 2022 and 2023. A passionate storyteller, he has authored 7 books, with his latest exploring the timeless ideas of Jamshedji Tata, the group's visionary founder. He got those books here to present it to one of our professors. And yes, when he's not shaping brands or writing bestsellers, he's probably thinking about food. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Harish Bhat. And our next speaker is Swetal Patel. Swetal Patel, son of the founding member of Patel Brothers, has been a dedicated force within the organization since he was just 16. With a strong background in sales and marketing, his passion has always centered around customer interaction and brand building. He currently holds the title of VP for Raja Foods, the import and distribution arm of the company. Raja Foods proudly imports and distributes beloved household brands like Tata or Tetley Tea, Wagh Bakri Tea, Parle Biscuits, MTR Instant Mixes, among others, along with its house brand, Swad, the largest selling Indian food brand in North America. Next, we have Professor Birju Shah moderating the session. Professor Birju is a clinical assistant professor of product management and AI at Kellogg, and also the former head of Uber AI, led Google X Life Science and 7X Entrepreneur. Thank you so much.
Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. How about we start off with just a little bit more of an intro, but I'll give a little bit of a context, okay? So Tata brand has been around 158 years, 7 generations. Is that right?
That's true.
Right?
Yep.
And then Patel Brothers in the United States has been around for 3 generations, 50 years this year.
50, correct.
Okay, so it's interesting, 150 to 50 years, right? Fantastic. You all have both been a part of this for a very long time, both your entities and organizations. How have you maintained a long-lasting legacy in the brands for your organizations? Why don't we start with you, Swetal?
For us, it's more of a passion play. For us, we really are one-on-one with our consumers, knowing what they want, how they act, how they react, and knowing exactly where we are today with them and where we'll be with them 5 years down the line. That's the only way we can grow our business.
Harish, go ahead.
Yeah, so the Tatas were founded 1868, 158 years back. And Birju, I think the way this legacy has been maintained is that the idea with which the Tatas were created by Jamshedji Tata, our founder, has remained exactly the same 158 years later.
Wow.
He began the Tatas saying, can we add some value to the nation through industry? Create industries which can build good value for shareholders, but at the same time can add value to the nation and the community. That's why he started textiles, that's why he started steel. And that's the same reason we are doing electronics and semiconductors today. So being at the confluence of very good business opportunity and what's good for India, what's good for the nation, has been maintained throughout. And that spirit has kept the legacy of the brand very vibrant and alive.
That's fantastic. And as we were preparing for this yesterday, I noticed a couple probably divergence on both of you, right? In terms of managing a company that targets the Indian diaspora versus a company for India, for One India itself. What are some of the elements of your brand that you think has to maintain for the future generations for the brand to keep going for further generations?
So for us, it's very simple. Stick to your roots, stick to your knowledge base, and back to how I say it all the time. Consumerism, consumerism, consumerism. Know your consumer. There are times where I don't have to, but I still do it. Once a month, I'll go to the store and I'll bag groceries. The reason I bag groceries is simple. You're at the checkout counter for 3 or 4 minutes. I have your undivided attention. I get to pick your brain now. How are you liking the store? Anything we can do? What challenges do you face in the store? That's the only reason. That's the only way we figured it out. And for the next generation of family members that are coming in, they all, no matter what degree they hold, they still have to do those simple, basic things. Some of them don't like it, but hey, you're getting a very nice paycheck, so.
And Swetal, just on that, we were talking before this that you think one of the principles that your family, and specifically the first generation, it was hustle. Hustle was one of those main principles that you all had and that you want to maintain going forward. Talk a little bit about the founding of Patel Brothers here.
You have to be hungry. At the end of the day, you really, every day, you just have to be hungry. You have to be hungry for that next sale. And hustle's also sacrifice. Our parents, when they came over in the late 60s, they sacrificed a lot. They came over, they had no idea as to what they were doing, but they were in a foreign land. So every day it was, what are we doing here? How do we maintain things? I was telling them earlier that there was a part of me that was slightly angry with my parents because they never showed up to a softball game or a baseball game or a basketball game. They couldn't. They were hustling. They were hustling. They were putting food on the table, a roof over our heads to figure out what we are today, from this small little grocery store that was 900 square feet to our largest right now, which is 42,000 square feet in Naperville, Illinois. So from West Rogers Park, which is 6 miles from here, that's where we started, to where we are today. It was always hustle. Even today, to date, we're all still hustling.
That's fantastic. And then, does Tata still have the hustle?
Yes, I think so. So I think Tata still have a lot of hustle to them. But I think, what Swetal says, I completely agree with.
Yeah.
For a brand to remain very vibrant and alive, you have to keep in touch with how your customer is changing. And the best way to understand how your customer is changing is to be in touch with your customer.
Absolutely.
And the other way that the Tatas remain very vibrant and in touch with the next generations is you forecast what the needs of the generations to come are.
That's fantastic.
What can the Tatas do today for the young consumer of India?
That's right.
And many of the new brands that we are putting into place are targeting young people in India. That's the way for the brand to transition into the next generation. Products and services which are relevant to the next generation.
Now, I think you both have a little bit of a different problem, though, right? When I asked Swetal, what is your focus now in the next generation, singularly says groceries, right? But when I talk to you and I talk about Tata, we go from a textile company to a consumer company to, honestly, I don't even know anymore, a gigantic portfolio of a lot of things. That complexity is a little bit different. How do you maintain brands from textiles to consumerism?
Yeah. So, firstly, we are talking in the first good understanding that I have that we are on a brands panel is that we are at Kellogg and all three of us are in purple colored shirts. You see that? So there's something consistent that we have done.
Yeah, not planned, right? Not planned.
So we didn't discuss it, but it's happened. So, we have different brands in India. We have Tata Tea, which is available in your stores, Tata Tea and Tata Salt. We have Tata Motors. We have TCS. We have Tata 1mg. My colleague Prashant is here. We have Tata Steel. Many, many brands across many categories. But the idea of the Tata brand is singular. The idea of the Tata brand is really nation building and being there for the community.
Yeah.
And that has led to a lot of trust in the Tata brand. Which is why today there are 900 million consumers, more than half the population of India, in India alone, who are using some Tata product or service. But having said that, Tata Tea caters to a different population, Tata Motors to a different population, Tata Steel to a different consumer segment, Tata 1mg to a different consumer segment. So each of these brands, they segment their consumers and they do what is right for their respective brands. But within the guardrails that Tata sets, which is that you do good for the community, you innovate and pioneer, and you excel in whatever you do, and you take care of your employees, you take care of your community. Those guardrails are very much there. Within those guardrails, every business and every brand innovates as they wish to.
So I'll ask this question. Community you speak of as part of the brand. I think that's a strong kind of principle for this brand.
It is.
Does the community extend outside of India to Indians everywhere or outside of Indians in general?
The community extends to wherever the Tata Group operates in. Not necessarily only to Indians. So if the Tata Group operates in the UK and you have factories in the UK, the community is all the community which lives around there.
Yeah, fantastic.
So it's the communities that you operate in. And that is the philosophy with which the Tata Group was started.
That's fantastic.
And that remains consistent. And I don't know how many of you are aware of how the Tata Group is structured. So when the Tata Group was founded in 1868, a few decades later, the founder of the Tata Group, Jamshedji Tata, and his two sons, Dorabji Tata and Ratanji Tata, his two sons transferred their entire holdings, their entire wealth, which was in the form of equity shares of the company, to charitable trusts. So until today, 66% of the equity of Tata Sons, our parent company, is held by Tata Charitable Trusts. And so they get 66% of all the dividends we issue. And they have used those dividends to build the Tata Cancer Hospital in Mumbai, the Tata Cancer Hospital in Kolkata, another 13 hospitals coming up as we speak. They have used it to build institutions like the Indian Institute of Science, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So the meaning of community is all encompassing for Tatas. We do business, we believe in doing business very fiercely, becoming market leaders in the segments that we are, whether it's motors, whether it's tea or coffee, or online diagnostics. But at the end of the day, the reason why we are doing business is to use a lot of that wealth and put it back to the community.
That's fantastic.
And that's really the story of Tata. And that's why the Tata brand has lived on for so long.
I love that. Love that. I love hearing as our heroes rise, the countries rise, right? And that establishment and hearing that legacy of them putting that the equity into the trust allowed that regularly.
Yes, and it's really a question of seizing business opportunity, but also looking at what's good for the country. And at the confluence of those two, you develop businesses for the future. When you do that, the business grows, but you're also doing stuff which is good for the country.
Fantastic. Swetal, do you want to tell us your family structure? No, I'm kidding. Not how much equity each brother owns. No, I'm kidding.
In terms of community brand building, it's, again, know your consumer. For us, we look at it as a simple way of there are 12 months in the year. 1 month is for Ramadan, 1 month is for Diwali. Those 2 months, don't look at your profits. Just make sure you do a lot of community involvement. For the past 7 or 8 years, during Ramadan, every store across the country will give out a packet of Eid Laddu.
Wow.
And it's very emotional to them. We're a Hindu company paying homage to them on their holiday, and they appreciate it. So it's one-on-one interaction with them. During Diwali, similar sweets are given out, but it's just what we do. Patel Brothers as a brand it comes down to simplicity for the tagline of the company: celebrating our food, our culture. That's who we are.
That's fantastic. You touched on, I think, a little bit more of a complicated component for Patel Brothers, right? We as Indians, we're a country of a lot of different religions, different dialects, different preferences. How do you handle that here in the States with the diaspora?
Masjid, Mandir, or Patel Brothers.
That's it.
You're coming to one of those three, period.
That's a good answer. Okay, you trumped me on this one. Okay, I'm gonna ask a little nuance on this. Okay, all right. So I've been to many of the Patel Brothers stores here in Illinois. I've noticed in western suburbs in Schaumburg versus in Naperville versus here on Gulf Road, I think in Niles. Seems like catered to a little bit different regions in India.
Right. So we do deep dive into the economics of each store, the communities, and what have you. So Schaumburg, very Gujarati focused. Naperville, South Indian focused. And Niles is what I like to call khichdi. A little bit of everybody.
That's fantastic. I love that. very good approach. I think that's fantastic itself. Okay. Now, if I transition this a little bit, I want to hear about what you all believe your brand has the power in storytelling, and how you believe that storytelling will not only up-level Indians and your brand itself, but overall our connectedness as a community. And we were talking before this a little bit. We were talking to MR, and we have got some good statistics about just comparing Israel versus India, right? They're 0.5% more, MR, right, in population. We're 1.5% of the U.S. population. They're 2% of the population. And you look at some of the wealth, it's fairly equivalent. But you look at their potential of political power or connectedness and a little bit more of their mission. How do you think your brands can help tell the story of Indian connectedness and unlocking that opportunity for us globally?
So, the Tata brand in many ways is one of the best recognized brands out of India, of Indian origin. And I think the best way we can tell the story of India is produce products and services which are world class, and get them to every country across the globe.
Absolutely.
So, whether it's the IT services that Tata Consultancy Services delivers, whether it's the tea and coffee that Tata Tea and Tata Coffee deliver, or whether it's the cars that Jaguar and Land Rover deliver, across all our brands, at the end of the day, if India has to be known for being world class, then I think we have a role to play there. And if I look at the history of the Tata Group across, that's where the Tata Group has typically put a lot of its focus, excellence in products and services. So take a brand like Tanishq. I used to handle the Tanishq brand many years ago as the Chief Operating Officer. And we developed world-class jewelry for India. And now my colleagues at Tanishq are now opening Tanishq stores across the United States as well, to cater to consumers here, not necessarily only to the Indian diaspora, but to consumers in general. So one way, India has to be known for world-class products and services. And that is what is going to get the Indian brand right up there on the global scene.
Yeah.
So that's one place where the Tatas can definitely add value.
Yeah, absolutely.
The second is the very way of doing business. Here is a corporation which is doing business, keeping the community center stage, where a lot of money across generations has gone back to the community. And the why of the business is so clear and intrinsic. And I think that's a lesson for businesses, for entrepreneurs starting businesses today, to look at how they can give a purpose to their business. All of us want our businesses to be very profitable. And the Tatas have a lot of very profitable businesses. But at the end of the day, we don't exist only for that profit. We exist for a larger purpose. And that's what I think has kept the brand and the group intact and growing for 158 years now.
I love it.
So that's also a lesson that I think entrepreneurs across the world can learn. And I think India can teach the rest of the world.
That's fantastic. And Swetal, when we talked about this, what did you say about the first, second versus third generation on our call yesterday?
First generation puts the foundation down. Second generation puts up the building. Third generation blows it all.
All right. So I think that's definitely not the answer I was looking for future legacy, on the brand and connectedness.
Well, for us, we're hoping that's not the case.
Yeah.
So for us, we really put a deep dive into our kids that are coming into the business now, and pray that they don't blow it.
No, but it's this is good. Yeah, hopefully they won't. Yeah, but when we were talking about this, you were talking about how you still give that vibe of hustle to them. They have to start at the ground floor. Even you all thinking about hiring outside talent in, someone has to be in your business for a long time, and they have to be within the community to keep establishing the presence of Patel brothers in the community. So talk a little bit about how you actually make sure they don't blow it all up.
So what we're seeing is with our vendor pool overseas is a lot of nepotism within the family that, I sent my kid to America to study and now he's just going to handle my business and grow my business. And I keep on telling all of them, with the exception of one of our vendors, they all have that nepotism type of vibe in them. And I keep on telling them, hey, I don't want your kid handling my account. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to yell at him. You're going to yell at him. He's going to go crying to mom that dad and Uncle Swetal were yelling at me. And then you're going to have to hear it from your wife, and it's just going to be one big mess. No, 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 no. Put the proper people in place. And that's what we're starting to learn within our family now. Put the proper people in place and let the kids grow and learn from them. Otherwise, they have that nepotistic behavior to them, and it's not going to work. And a lot of you, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have family businesses in India. Do not go working for your family business. Please don't go working. Go work for someone else. Go work for a manager that's just going to really make you bleed at work. And then go and work for your family business. But learn that discipline that a manager can give you. Yeah. My biggest regret is that I never worked for anyone. My dad's biggest regret is that he never had me work for anyone.
That's great. Is he here?
It's the truth.
I hope your father's here right now. This would be great. This is fantastic. It's good advice for the next generation. Absolutely. The world of technology is also changing all this. And we talk about your third generation. I mean, they're used to getting their insights from TikTok, right? We don't have our own Indian TikTok yet. I'm waiting for that, right?
Yeah.
And they're used to just getting more of this big data approach and technological approach. How do you believe that is changing things for your brands?
So for us, it's Patel Brothers, Swad. We're really focused in on you coming in or eventually ordering online. I'm a very old school brick and mortar kind of guy. But we want you to learn how to cook. We don't want you to come in, pick up something that's ready and go out the door. If you choose to do so, God bless you. We want you to come in, buy your onions, tomatoes, cilantro, chapati from the bakery, some dal, some spices, and go home and cook. The technology part of it is we're using feeds like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok to teach you how to cook. One thing we've realized is that your generation doesn't know how to cook. So that's all we're doing right now is just flooding the streams with how to cook. And that's getting back to the basics.
Yeah, and when we were prepping yesterday, one of my takeaways is that you are teaching people their Indian culture.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas I think Tata is actually still a steward of growing and evolving that culture, right? It's actually very different how we've stepped backwards and you guys are moving forwards in terms of this, right? And so on that, how do you think that we are evolving our future as it relates to Indian consumers? Yeah.
So there are many new segments coming up in Indian consumers. So just for, there is the woman consumer in India who is financially independent today. Many more women who are financially independent today, and they're making purchases of different kinds. We see a lot more women buying into technology, buying into electronics, buying into cars, buying into many product segments. There is a huge urban elite coming up. People who have made a lot of money, either senior, entrepreneurs who have started up businesses, businessmen, and that affluent elite requires a different kind of servicing, different kind of products for themselves. There is Gen Y and there is Gen Z. They want different kinds of products. They want different kinds of brands to speak to them. They want brands that are good, that are doing some good for the planet, and yet at the same time are very affordable. Very fashionable, very affordable, but doing good for the planet. So you need to have brands and offerings for them as well. So the first thing is to figure out who are the new consumer segments that are emerging in India, and how do you serve the needs of those consumer segments.
Yeah.
The second thing that we really look at is forecasting what the future requires. What are the needs that people will have 3 or 4 years down the line? Can we have insights regarding those? And can we then develop products to meet their expectations?
Yeah,
so this is two things that the Tata Group keeps doing all the time.
Yeah, fantastic. And you touched on one that I wanted to touch on. The Indian wealth is growing, period. Right? Again, with MR, the diaspora support that we saw the wealth in the U.S. I think Indians, from an average salary standpoint, is incredibly high, if not one of the higher ones, right? Swetal, how has your product portfolio changed? How has your brand changed to target this kind of growing wealth? I always joke with my friends, no Indian comes over to the U.S. poor anymore, right? They either have an IT degree, a medical degree, or something where they can get a white-collar job, not even a blue-collar job. How has that changed for you?
So what was interesting, 6-7 years ago, we did focus groups across the country to see, it was more for advertising more than it was anything, but then it was a lesson in life as well. We wanted to know what people were doing at home, who was cooking, who was the primary person doing the cooking. Shockingly, it was 7 out of 10 people in the focus group were men. And they were the guys cooking at home. They had more passion cooking than the women did. No offense to the women in the audience, but and what happened from that was we realized we needed to change. We needed to change the way we brought products to market. And it's just been this growing process for the past 4 or 5 years.
How do you change with this? Do you just get like the all-star cricket player as your sponsor for men to shop more?
You advertise on cricket platforms.
Okay.
You advertise towards that toward that diaspora of men. And women found cooking as a chore, whereas men were way more passionate about cooking.
That's fantastic, yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the only reason why you had satellite TV in your house was because you had a grandma living with you or an old Uncle Cha-Cha living with you. That was it. Otherwise, everyone was switching to handhelds, watching cricket, and that was the mode of advertising.
Yeah, that's great. The whole panel so far, we've been talking a little bit as the diaspora and India being separate. But actually, it's very connected, right? Every one of my family members I go to India to, they always, when I ever ask them for food to bring home, they tell me to go get it at Patel Brothers, right? Right? Or we're buying some Tata good, right? And so I'm curious what your two perspectives are of just kind of bridging the borders here, in terms of whether it's the brand, whether it's your organizations itself. Do you feel like it can be strengthened, or do you feel like, should we broker a deal here now between Tata and Patel Brothers?
We already...
You have a lot of deals already? It's already done? Okay, got it.
We have a good partnership going with Patel.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And they bought a brand that we were invested in.
Yeah. I sell another one right now.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Cut a check right now and you can have the whole thing.
Might as well commit. Yeah, fantastic. We recently authored a case study about Patel Brothers, and it was one of the themes that really struck me is that I still think there can be a lot of improvement made between the connection of the diaspora and the incredible talent that we have here in leadership, right? A lot of CEOs now that are Indian leaders here, and a lot of them come from backgrounds and legacy from companies from 158 years ago, Tata. Yeah. What do you think we can improve about kind of our diplomacy and connections as Indians across borders?
So I think there are 2 or 3 tracks probably there. One is we can learn a lot from what's happening in the US, developments in this market. What's happening here with marketing, with social media marketing, with digital, a lot of those learnings we can take back to India. And we can implement them in India as well. Because I think on some of those facets, the United States is a few years ahead of what's happening in India. The second is a lot of product developments which are happening here. A lot of technology, a lot of new products which are being released in the United States. I think we can learn from that as well. And how Indian entrepreneurs here, or even other entrepreneurs in the US, what they're doing and how we can adapt some of those ideas to what is required by Indian consumers. I also think that, if you look at what's happening in India today, and a lot of products which are coming up specific to Indian culture, food products, beverage products which are coming up in India, I think entrepreneurs here can learn from those products and bring them across to the United States of America. So there is a lot of scope for cross-fertilization. Maybe we haven't done enough of it in the past.
Yeah, and it's been interesting. I view this as export arbitrage, right? The U.S. is very good at shipping their Western culture, and now India, I'm seeing, is shipping their culture across the world. Whether that is cricket and IPL, whether that's always been Bollywood, right? Now it's starting to go into the consumer brands as well.
Yeah. So I live in Bangalore, and Bangalore has a lot of places which make very good dosas, masala dosas. I'm sure the dosa makers of the US can learn a little bit from that.
Nice. Good example. Yeah. I love that. That's fantastic.
You come to Bangalore and I'll take you to places which serve the most amazing dosas on the earth.
Yeah, I love it. So what shocked me about Patel Brothers is that, Indian companies building within India, they have to build, and I'm always inspired by Professor Sawhney's case study on Jio here, just how they built a telecom system that is basically a rupee per gigabyte, where in the US it's $15 per gigabyte, right? Just incredible invention and innovation here. When we were doing the case study in Patel Brothers, I was shocked at how much that is in your soul and in your mantra to build with that Jugaad concept, right? But in the US. Talk about how that kind of is the basis of cross-border collaboration for you. I've heard Rakesh negotiate some deals with vendors, and I've never seen a better negotiator in my life. A lot of hanging up, a lot of different head nods, a lot of walking away, coming back, and by far he gets it. He's going to bankrupt the poor vendor by that deal, right? Right? But you have a strength in terms of that concept within your organization.
Well, for us, it's strength in volume, right? We are the largest selling Indian food brand in America. So with that comes a little better negotiation power. I lost my train of thought. My apologies.
It's all Keech-tree. Yeah.
Sorry?
It's all Keech-tree anyway.
Yeah. But when we work with India, for example, in Patel Brothers, you'll find more Indian food products available inside of an Indian grocery store than you will at an Indian grocery store in India, which the guys from Reliance will come. They'll spend a day or two with us, figure out what it is that we're doing right, and take those same things back to India. The biggest problem I have with Indian retail in India is that they don't focus in on fresh produce. And they keep on saying, well, we have cold chain problems. Those are your problems. Figure it out. You're in a country of 1.4, 1.5 billion people. You're 1/3 the size of America. Figure it out. When I went into a Reliance store last year, I said, this entire part of your store, eliminate it. Who needs pots and pans all day? Flip it with produce. Patel Brothers today, 27% of our business comes from fresh produce. Once you sell a pan or a pot, you're good for 8-9 years. You're never going to get an ancillary sale out of that section. Get rid of it. And then they finally realized, you're right. I'm just a kid. You're part of Mukesh Ambani's company. You guys... Someone needs to get fired.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So I think we're going to time check. I'll ask you guys one last question. Just a quick summary for me. It's been very fun being on a panel with both of you. I love seeing the kind of barbell approach we have, where you still have very much a startup vibe to you all, right? In terms of very real, be with the customer itself, where you have to handle incredible scale across an incredible portfolio. So it's been great to kind of share the learnings across. One final question to both of you. What do you want the legacy of yourself and your brands to be remembered for, especially for the next generation as you hand it over? Harish, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I'm far clearer about the legacy of the Tata brand. The Tata brand, like I told you, has always been about community and nation building. And as a historian of the Tata brand, I've seen how incredibly consistent that has been. And I think I would like the Tata brand to be remembered for adding value to India, being a brand which makes the country truly proud. Every Air India flight coming out of India should be the best in the world and carry the Indian flag across the world. So every product sold should be world class. The Tata brand should contribute to the building of India, making India a far more prosperous nation in the future. So that I'm very clear about. The legacy that I would like to be remembered for is how I'm able to, I love storytelling. And I think there is great power in storytelling to inspire the younger generation, to inspire everyone. And I would like to be remembered for how storytelling can add value to young people, to develop their own lives, to inspire themselves. And I think as a marketer, I think storytelling is something that all of us should have a great deal of passion for. And that's an art I'd like to develop to an extent that any marketer should feel that he or she is first a storyteller and then a marketer.
Fantastic. So how about yourself?
Grit and hustle. Everyone next gen on needs to realize that where we started, it was started by two brothers that came from a small village in Gujarat, India. We still have our house in the village. The reason why we still have our house in the village is that every other trip I go, I always go back to the village, pay respects to my village, because that's what my mom wanted. She said, you guys are going to America, you're going to make your money, do that, do great things in life. But don't forget that dirt road that your father was brought up on. That's where you came from. That's where the hustle came from, was to get out of the village and into the big city. And today, it's emotional to say that we are the American success story. We came here with nothing. My dad came here with $34 in his pocket and an engineering scholarship. And everyone just needs to realize that that's where we came from and just maintain the respect to that American success story.
That's fantastic. Thank you for this. I think we have time for some questions. Is that right? Yeah. So we'll take questions from the audience. I'll let the microphone pickers pick. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I have a question for Mr. Harish. You talked a lot about Tata's focus on nation and community building. So how do you kind of align in such a big organization on the same idea? What are the systems in place and how they kind of evolved over time?
So, very good question. It goes back exactly to the point that Swetal mentioned now. Don't lose track of where we came from and why we came here. So that's the same thing we do within the Tatas. We may today be a car and IT services and electronics and semiconductors company, but I have seen how the company has kept a complete focus on this is why we were started. So every 3rd of March, we celebrate Founders Day, the birthday of Jamshedji Tata. And we pause the entire organization to talk about that man and talk about how he set up a textile company where for the first time accident insurance and provident fund and pensions were offered in India. We talk about how he set up the Taj Hotel or how he set up Tata Steel. So describing those stories of legacy are a very good way of reminding ourselves that this is why we are here. And that's why we should continue on the path of nation building until today. In addition to that, it's really the actions that prove yourself. So 120 years ago, Jamshedji Tata set up Tata Steel because he thought India needed its own steel plant. Today, Chairman Mr. Chandrasekaran has announced large Tata investments in electronics and semiconductors. And why? Because India requires electronics and semiconductors for the future. So it's also the actions that you take to ensure that you stay true to that vision.
Not easy actions either.
Not easy actions. They require a lot of money, they require a lot of resource, a lot of focus, and they require a lot of industry building and pioneering because India is not necessarily known for semiconductors today. Yeah, but the investments that Tatas are making today will develop that industry for the future. So I think that's the way you remain consistent. You do, and then you also narrate why we are here from the past. Both those things can keep that vision very, very alive.
Fantastic.
Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Do we have another mic?
Next question from here. Tata Group has been...
I can see you. Yeah.
Sure. Tata Group has been and is an influential and impactful brand, right? The world is changing very fast, geopolitically, macroeconomically, and India is sitting at a very interesting crossroads. What challenges and opportunities do you see for India in the future, and how can people in this room help in that journey? I'm pretty sure India is forging relationship with the Indian diaspora across the globe. How can we help as well?
So, I think the biggest opportunity and the biggest challenge for India today, this is my personal point of view after looking at all variables, is to create enough jobs for Indians leaving college, leaving school, leaving university. Every month there are 1 million Indians coming into the workforce. So in a year there are 11, 12 million Indians coming into the workforce. How do you create jobs for these people? Yeah. And that is a challenge that I think the Tata Group is applying itself to, but each of us here in the room those of us who become entrepreneurs in the future can apply ourselves to. So for instance, I talked about the electronics and semiconductors industry. It's on its way to creating 50, 60,000 jobs and probably much more by the time the Tatas have set up all their factories. And you'd be happy to know that in the electronics factory which has come up at Hosur near Bangalore, more than 75% of the employees are women. Because when you provide employment to women, you're creating livelihoods for their entire family. That is something that to me is a big challenge that every company in India, whether it's in the private sector or public sector, every entrepreneur should apply itself to. Because if you don't create those jobs, then India is going to become far more unequal in the future. And we don't want to live in an unequal society. So how do you spread wealth? How do you create wealth for the entire country? Creating jobs is the best way of doing that.
Yeah, be a multiplier effect and amplify, for sure.
So that is the biggest challenge, and all of you should keep that in mind.
And adding to that, my biggest passion play for India is getting their distribution right. E-commerce, India's fantastic. But like I said earlier, cold chain distribution and logistics, they really need to figure it out. How is it that I can pick a mango off of a tree on a Thursday, get it treated, packed, shipped, and on my shelf on a Monday in 3 days? Yet you can't get fresh coriander from the farm to the store, and 60% of it goes to waste. That is key. And you'll save a lot of money on the wastage that happens in India right now. But cold chain distribution is key for that country.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Dr. Chopra.
Yeah.
So I'm a physician, but I have a whole team. So I'm a physician here. Birju knows that well. And I have a whole team in India. I've now got 100 people. We did that within 6.5 months. I call them PhDs, poor, hungry, and driven. I got them from all parts of India coming in. They are motivated. You feed them a little energy, give them attention. They love it. And I use a lot of our digital platform to start training them. And the biggest challenge, which I have to conquer and Pat, is how to upskill them. And I wonder, how does Tata do it?
So across industries, I think we have different patterns of upskilling. So it differs from industry to industry. But I think in a lot of places, there is very, very intensive focus today in our workforce on upskilling them digitally and getting them up to pace with all the digital techniques that we have. It requires a lot of rigor, but I think when rolled out with rigor, we have seen tens of thousands of people can be upskilled within 6 months, 9 months, a very brief period of time. And the Tatas are also partnering the government in setting up an Indian Institute of Skills today for skills development in the future.
Yeah, that's right.
And the first such institute has come up at Ahmedabad, and they're looking at a couple more. So I think that's another place where skilling, which is a key need of the Indian economy, has to be addressed.
I could talk to you for hours about this.
Yes, I can describe to you.
We don't have hours right now. We have the next question.
It's fascinating.
I think we have time for 2 more questions.
Hello. Yeah. Hi. I have one question for Swetal. So I want to ask about the recent sustainability initiatives that are being taken, and in the spirit of bringing Indian cultural practices to US, what are your opinions on the single-use plastic that we use to take the fresh produce in? Would you be, open to bringing the local street vegetable vendors' ideas of measuring the quantity of the produce in their own scale and then giving it to the customers in a reusable plastic? Not plastic, sorry, some bag.
Like putting it in a brown paper bag or something like?
No, so in India, where on the streets, the vegetable vendors will take the produce in a container, weigh it, and then give the customer so they can put it in their own bags.
Correct. Okay, so the volume, the sheer volume of what we do versus the street vendor, it's day and night. So it's not possible. For us to have a consumer bring their bag, then there's a tear weight and stuff like that, it just wouldn't work.
Go ahead, next question.
Sorry. So I just a brainstorm idea. So if at the counter when they are billing the whole thing, what if they weigh it right there and then, instead of putting it in the plastic, they can give it in a bag that the
Have you
customer is
been
using.
to a Patel Brothers
Wait,
store on
Yes.
I think this is a job
Only
opportunity.
Patel
Yeah.
Brothers. I
think we have a new bagger that you could replace some of your time for, yeah? I think this is great, yeah.
But that was just like a question because there's a lot of plastic being used. So is there any option that you're exploring for that?
It's just not feasible. There's a reason why there are those single-use plastic bags for fresh produce. I love where you're going with it.
Yeah.
It's just not feasible. Throughout the country, there are maybe 6 or 7 stores that opened up, bulk grocery stores. They all failed. Bring your own canister, fill your beans, and check out. It wasn't sustainable. That wasn't sustainable.
Yeah, it's a different phase of scale itself.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, how about we get the last question we have, yeah? Is there a mic?
Okay. Firstly, Swetal, I first want to thank you for sponsoring the Chicago Botanic Gardens, the Tulip Show a few months ago. I visited it. I'm a member of the Botanic Gardens, and it was an outstanding show. Wasn't just me saying it, was all the people who we were bumping into, and it felt really, really proud to be an Indian visiting it. So congratulations and thank you for that, for Patel Brothers, for sponsoring it. My question is about that is a reflection of how Patel Brothers is expanding its kind of offerings or its presence or its awareness to outside of the Indian diaspora. Can you talk about the thought behind it and what you're doing in addition to things like this in the Chicagoland area?
So it was great to partner up with the Botanic Garden. And what it was, again, it's all things ethnic. That's the reason why we did it. If they were going to do something on Chinese flowers, we would not be at the forefront of cutting a check for that. And then working with them, they came to us, we sat down, we got ideas, they gave us a lot of ideas, and then we sourced a lot of the stuff for them, like the rickshaw, the vegetable cart, to give it a real street feel. So for us, we're brand ambassadors for Indian food. That's what it is. So when opportunities like that present themselves, we jump right in.
No, that's going to be done.
Okay.
Just do the book.
Yeah. Time check, we're done. Okay, I just want to give one plug. I want to make sure I started reading this. I already bought a copy. That's what he's going to give me another one. This is fantastic. If you all want to see a little bit more of an origin story of Tata and get some lessons about how a company has grown and kept a first principle mind, I think this is actually a fantastic book for everyone to read.
Yeah, it's got lots of good stories in it. At the moment, it's available in India. Mm-hmm. So whenever you go back to India, you could think of buying it.
Yeah, I think he only has 2 additional copies, so all of you race up for here after that. But thank you again to both of you.
Thank you. Wonderfully steered.